Minnick from the YouTube channel, Mr. Minnick, explaining to students new to Python how to pass parameters to functions. When you have a computer program in Python, it's a good idea to mark the top section in a simple program like this, functions, with a comment, and the bottom area here, in this case, I call this the main program. Now, there are other ways of doing this, and I don't necessarily disagree with other YouTubers that do it differently or Python programmers, but this is a good way for a beginner to organize his or her code. So the functions are technically optional. You could do everything down here in main program. You could just say print hello. You could say print, say awesome computer program. You could do that, and it would work when you click the run button like I'm doing here. It would work, and it would print out in a console window. In this case, awesome computer program. I'm going to try it again there. It didn't quite work. Well, right now, my online Python editor is a little slow there, but it worked. Awesome computer program. But let's use what's called a defined function that's in this Python module, in this Python program. So you just type a def, keyword def in Python, and you name your function, perhaps something like display title. You need empty parentheses and a colon in this situation. And then in the body of the function, notice how my editor automatically indented me there. That's where you could put your actual title of your computer program. So by putting the print statement indented right below my def statement, now instead of causing the computer to print or display awesome computer program that way, I can use what's called a call statement. A call statement is a line of code that types the name of a function and its parameter list, which in this case is an empty set of parentheses. Now when I click run, it works similarly. No difference. But arguably this is a better organization because this function is reusable. It organizes the code better. And there are a number of other reasons why you could say user-defined functions are good. Well, sometimes you want a better function that would display a custom message. So here you go, naming this function, display message, colon, print. But I'm not sure what I want to put in there. So I'm just, for now, wondering, what should I display? Well, let's come down here to a call statement and just call the function up above and put in something like hello, in double quotes, of course, because that's what we call a string, a piece of text. So when I run this, it gives me an error message, as you see here, syntax error. The question marks were just a placeholder. How do I get the word hello up to the body of the function so it prints hello? With Awesome Computer Program, it was what I call hardwired. So the function display title just always will print this Awesome Computer Program no matter what. It's still nice to have display title, but display message can be a custom message depending on what you want to do down in the main program. So you could say hello or you could say goodbye. But the function up above would work the same either way if only we had a placeholder where the text hello or the text goodbye would go. Well, in math, we have things like functions, and then sometimes we do f of x, parentheses x. So we need something like that. So just let's put an x in there and put an x where the question marks are, and let's see if that works. So borrowing the pattern from math. Tim, do you have any questions? Good. I'm clicking run, and it works now. Now the program works. It not only says display title, Awesome Computer Program as the title, in the order of the call statements down here in the main program, it now prints hello and goodbye, proving that a function can be reused with different values and passed as parameters. Just like in math, you can do f of x, and then later you can say, what's the f of 4? But you can also ask, what's the f of 5? Using your function f of x, which might be defined as f of x equals x times x plus 3. I can't really raise something to a superscript here, an exponent, easily in this editor. So that's x squared right there, by the way. So that's sort of like 2 call statements, but 1 function definition here on my formula page in math class. Okay, bye-bye math class, and back to computer science. So now let's move this to the next level of good use of functions and passing parameters. But I should emphasize, hello is sent up here and it drops in and plugs in for x. That's called passing a parameter, where the string, the text hello, is a parameter. In fact, this is called the actual parameter. Hello, the hello in quotes is an actual parameter, sometimes called an argument. And up here, this placeholder x is being used as a formal parameter. It's just a formal title, just a formal placeholder. But in computer science, we don't like using single letters as variable names that often. So I like a better, heartier name, like a good breakfast, like oatmeal, not just like, 1 stick of chewing gum, which isn't really a breakfast. So X, how about message? Yeah, the message, or the message. Now you can't use spaces or symbols there, and you should use what I call camel case, like the capital T, uppercase T in display title. Lowercase d, the first letter of a variable or function name should always be a lowercase letter. So now that I put the message there, I do, because of the way substitution works, I have to put the message here. So hello now plugs in for the message. And when we print the message, it prints hello in response. So the program still works correctly. Do not put the message in double quotes. If you put the message in double quotes, Vinny, what do you expect will print now when I run this program because of line 7? Yeah, THE uppercase MESSHA something AGE. And check it out, Vinny and I are correct as soon as it runs here. It's a little slow this morning. And not only once, but I printed it twice, ignoring the actual parameters, hello and goodbye. So don't use double quotes when you shouldn't be. Okay, so we have a very nice function that's now reusable by several call statements. And notice how I naturally put a blank line there, just because that section is different from that section of the main program. Hey, here's another example. You can actually set a variable equal to something here, like whatever, and then say display message X. So I'm just using X as a variable name. It's not really a good variable name in computer science. So I'm just going to call it like message, the word message lowercase. Or no, you know what, word. Word sounds good. And by putting word in as the actual parameter, but without double quotes around it, the variable word's value gets passed up to and plugs in for the message in the function's header. The first line of a function, by the way, is called its header. So now when we run this, oh, I forgot to call on someone, but Jaden knows that the word whatever is expected to be printed out like it is. Because word here is a variable that's just being used to store whatever, which is being passed as a parameter. Now, how you organize your code is up to you down in the main program. Sometimes you actually put things in double quotes right in the parentheses here in the call statement. But sometimes you would store them in a variable and send the variable name up. Either way, it would work. It depends on different situations. Okay, another example here of calling a function. Sometimes you pass 2 parameters to a function. Perhaps like this one right here, display total cost. So I'm typing the call statement before I type the function. Total cost, let's say the total cost of a phone might be $1,000 with, say, here in the state of Pennsylvania, $60 added as tax. Now, you can't have a call statement unless you actually have the function that's being called. Unless the function is in a library, we call it a library sometimes, import turtle. If some module somewhere behind the scenes called turtle has a function called display total cost, this would theoretically work, but it's not going to. Watch. If you have studied turtle graphics have nothing to do with computing the cost of a phone. And you get all kinds of error messages there. Well, one error message. So wishful thinking, there is no import module for display total cost. Instead, we're basically typing our function definitions above the call statement, which in Python is required. So it doesn't matter what order the functions are actually typed out up here, as long as they're up here above the call statement that's making use of them. That's why it's nice to be organized. Okay, display total cost. And I need 3 parameters, perhaps X, Y, and Z. That would work. It's not particularly good style. And I'm just going to type print X plus Y plus Z. This is temporary. Just want to see if it works. I'm going to just go for it and click run. We have problems in Houston here. It's not really Houston, but Cooper. Oh, this was not uppercase T and good catch. So Python is case sensitive. You got to spell things correctly. And even though to some people that these are spelled, they match spelling, case sensitivity means that the upper cases and lower cases have to match. Camel case, a camel with 2 humps in her back, capital T, capital C. Now it kind of works. Now when I run this program, it kind of works. Well, not really. We can't concatenate without using the string function. So when we use this plus sign here to try to add phone plus 1000 plus 60, you can't add text to numbers in Python unless you use the str command, the string command function. The built-in string function could be used to sort of work here. That converts the integers 1000 and 60 separately to strings, like words. And this kind of works. You're now concatenating them together. You are calling the function, but it prints out as PHONE100060. That is not what I wanted, but it sort of works. Hey, what is str, by the way? Well, str is a defined function, but not defined here in my current Python module. It's built into the language Python. Currently, I think I'm running Python version 3.7. So str is a built-in function that's accepting a parameter named y there, and that's not what I want to do. So I don't save this with str, but rather I want to take y and add it to z, and after I mathematically add them, then I convert that whole 1000 plus 60 order of operations inside the parentheses, after adding those two mathematically, like on a calculator, then by using the str function with a set of parentheses outside of the y plus z, the 1000 and the 60 should be added up to the sum of 1060. And let's see if that works. Now, there are other ways to do this, but this is one way to do it. It's sort of working, but I don't have a $sign there. And since we are in the United States right now, we're not using euros, we are using dollar bills. So I want to concatenate a $sign to the front of that by adding this $sign in double quotes. Let's test that. This has nothing to do with passing parameters, but it's looking good. Now I need spaces, and I add a space right in between the double quote there and the $sign, as you see, and it's looking a little bit better. I'm not going to teach you how to get a comma in numbers over 1000, but you can see how 3 parameters are being passed. So let's compare them one to one. Phone is plugging in for X. Then after this comma, 1000 is being passed and plugs in for the Y. And watch my mouse cursor. The 60 is being passed as the 3rd parameter in the parameter list. and plugs in here for the z. So again, x, y, and z are just formal parameter names, just being used temporarily to store values coming from the call statement. If you put these in the wrong order, they're not going to work. If you put, for example, the z here in your print statement and the x here, this is going to be, we're going to be lucky if this even runs, let alone runs logically correct. I'm just winging it here, and yep, it crashed because you're trying to turn something into a string that's already a string probably. So in other words, you got to be careful when you line up multiple parameters. And finally here, I don't like x, y, and z as variable names, as parameter names rather, because they're not very descriptive. So a better word for my formal parameter name x would be sort of like item or product for sale. Item sounds good to me. So I'm changing all the x's to the word item. And another good word for y would be like the base price or just price. $1,000 for a phone, yeah, that's kind of realistic for some iPhones and Android phones I know. And then 60, that's sort of like the tax in the state of the United States of America that I live in. So by changing these by substitution formal parameter names, it still works, and it's better and easier for somebody to read. Perhaps somebody in the state of Delaware is working on this project, but he or she is unfamiliar with state sales tax because, well, they don't have any from what I heard. But they would still need good names of things to understand. And perhaps people from other countries are working on this project realistically. And they might not know about sales taxes in states of United States. Okay, one more change. You don't have to pass numbers down here. Like we've already studied, you can pass variables. So check this out. Instead of 60, I'm now going to change this to 1,000 asterisk for multiplication 0.06, just for good style. So I'm actually computing, but because of the order of operations, I'm computing some number on the fly and then passing that as an actual parameter. And that plugs in for tax, which according to order of operations still comes out as the correct amount that somebody in the state of Pennsylvania would owe for a $1,000 phone. And the verdict is it does work. Now, Python is throwing a 0.0 for accuracy there, which is fine. I'm not going to cover that in this demo, how to get accurate decimal number precision. Okay, some review of words as we finish this demo program, as I call it. Let's go over some important vocabulary that you should know in computer science, and probably in the world of business, Microsoft Excel, other sort of other pieces of software that work with functions and formulas behind the scenes. Google Sheet, Apple's Pages program spreadsheet. So check it out. This is called a function header. It's the line of code that has the DEF, a keyword. This set of parentheses is called a parameter list. That's an empty parameter list that I've highlighted. Here's a parameter list that has one parameter. And here's a parameter list that has three parameters separated by commas. The name of a function is after the keyword DEF, but before the parameter list. It should be in camel case the way I teach. I like to put a verb in the name of a function because functions often do things. They print things. They move turtle graphics. They do something. A variable, it's just kind of like a noun, like word. So that's not really a verb. So this word should not be confused with the name of a function. Okay, as a whole, well, the line of code that's indented right below DEF, that's a function, the body of the function. It can have more than one line as long as they're all indented the same. So you could put whatever here. You could actually put a nice little row of asterisks, or not asterisks, like underlines there. So when I run this program has a nice little decorated, I'm even going to put an empty blank line there below that so that this function now has a nice body to it, like a good sandwich. Some meat and vegetables or tofu inside there. Okay, and then this function This is an example of a function, but as a whole, that's called a function definition. That's where the DEF comes from. So the header plus the body adds up to the function definition. You should always put at least one blank line between functions so that they're not all crammed together like this. That makes them hard to read. And you should, for good style, put a little comment in here, either with a single hashtag that explains the purpose of the function. And a lot of people use a different style of comments here with 3 little apostrophes. I'm not going to get into why that's done in the, like a set of parentheses there in the world of Python programming. But both those styles are fine for the class that I'm teaching right now. And you should always have comments. So maybe you put a comment, displays item with cost, including Pennsylvania sales tax. Well, it would work for the tax in any state in this case. And another word that you should know, these are called formal parameters up here in the function headers. Down here in the parentheses of the call statements, those are called actual parameters. And as a whole, line 22 call statement. So is line 26. And that's about it. We sometimes call an actual parameter an argument. And it's been my pleasure showing you that functions are good for reusability, organization, easy to update, keeping tasks separated by little sections of code, easier to update, easier to do different things in different main programs. So it's been my pleasure teaching you how to pass parameters to functions.